Hello, teacher. Hello, classmates. My name is Roberto Ortiz, and I am studying in the course Syntax and Teaching Grammar. And today I'm going to be talking about the unit theme called clauses. Now, in this activity, I'm going to be identifying different types of strategies for each different type of sentence. For example, we have in the first type of sentence a simple sentence strategy number 1. We have a flashcard game. Now this is going to a demographic that is children. Now, in this strategy, students take turns to pick up and put down cards until they can build a sentence that is grammatically correct and makes sense. The objective of this game is to determine the capacity of each student. The students can learn from their mistakes, therefore they will not make the same mistake again. The order of the words is random, so for this level of students it can be quite challenging. I think that children can start to familiarize with the order of which each group of words goes in a sentence. It is also great to implement fun activities like this one to children. I think by introducing children to simple sentences, I think that a flashcard game is an excellent way to bring fun and joy to an activity. It can also help introduce children to simple sentence. Now, the next type of strategy is called matching game. Now, in this strategy, I can first teach children the subjects, the verbs, the objects, so they can be familiarized with these terms. Then I can turn these terms into a matching game, splitting the class into teams. Completed the rounds by displaying sentences on the boards. Teams that correctly identify the type of each one earns points. So I can say, is this an object, subject, or verb? Then each team will get a chance to answer. I think that this is good for children because it allows them to determine the correct subjects, verbs, and objects, and it is also great for children because, like I said before, it introduces them. You start to, learn more about subjects, about I, you, he, she, and verbs also, which is important in a simple sentence. Now, in the next type of sentence, we have complex sentences. Now, this also goes for demographic that is children. Now, the strategy, the activity is called sandwich sentences. This is an excellent strategy to teach to children because all children like to eat sandwiches, so they can relate to the idea of creating a complex sentence is the same thing as making a sandwich. It has the same steps. A complex sentence requires a start and the end, the bread, and an extra bit in the middle, which is the filling. This is important because the children can have a visual representation that, just like the sandwich, requires a start and the end being the bread and the middle being the filling, so does a complex sentence. So this is an excellent way of introducing students to complex sentence. They can have a visual representation. They can know the steps that is required to form a complex sentence. Now, the next type of strategy is called the 5 W's. Now, in this strategy, the children will have to form sentences with the 5 W's. 5 children will then participate on this activity by providing, for example, a subject for who. Then the children will have to add details on the sentence based on the subject. Another children is a what and adds the action to the sentence. This is important because it is ideal for helping children to remember how the sentence can be stretched. This is an excellent way of making students interact with each other and making students determine how they can stretch the sentence. Now, compound sentences strategy number 1, writing down examples. Now, this also goes for the demographic that is children. Now, I can teach my students the basics of a compound sentence, being two clauses joined by a conjunction. Then I could proceed by telling my students what are their favorite hobbies, snacks, and meals. Then I can proceed by explaining to them what is a conjunction, and so we can all form a compound sentence together as a class. For example, Carl likes pizza, but Annie wants pie. Now, as we can see, I can use different colors to identify the different types of things. For example, for but I use the color white, and but is a conjunction, so it is important for children to determine what is a conjunction. So I think that providing children with different types of colors for words makes it a lot easier. Now, moving on to the next one, we have compound sentences strategy number 2. Create your own compound sentence. In this strategy, I proceed by giving my students worksheets in which they will create their own compound sentences. There will be 2 boxes in which the first part of the compound sentence will be, and the second box will be the last part. The order of these sentences is at random, so this can be quite challenging to identify, but with lots of practice can be accomplished. This is important because it can really help me determine what are the different kind of difficulties that my students might face when completing this activity. Now, as we all know, worksheets is very common in a classroom, but I think that providing students with different types of compound sentences, with the first part of the compound sentence being the letter A in box A, and the second part of the compound sentence being letter number B, I can then put the sentences at random. So the first part of the sentence could go on the bottom, and the next half of the sentence could go in the middle or in the top. It all depends on what the student thinks. And so, when completing the sentence, students can have an idea of how the sentence is formed without the help of the teacher. But then, of course, I will then correct each of the students' worksheets and then provide them with helpful feedback, which is also important in helping children identify compound sentences, providing them with helpful feedback so that in the next activity I can then help them with any inconvenience that they might encounter. Now, in the last slide, we have the bibliography that I use for each different type of strategy. Now, in conclusion, I can say that all these activities, all these strategies are very helpful. Are very helpful for children because in one set of activities, it can introduce them to, for example, simple sentences. In the next type of activities, it can introduce them to compound sentences. In the last activity, it can introduce them to complex sentences. So each different type of strategy is helpful for children. I think that children can have fun when learning these types of sentences. Just like I said in an activity before, sandwich sentences. This is really fun for children because all children like sandwich sentences. So this gives a visual representation and an idea of how each type of sentence is formed. And I think that interacting with each other is helpful and can provide all of us helpful feedback. Thank you so much, teacher. Thank you so much, classmates. I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time.